Dan Sindelar reacting to that flop that ensured he would be going home in 7th place from this main event final table. And so we are down to just 6. Dan Sindelar right now is standing by with Kara Scott.
We've lost Dan Sindelar here in 7th place. Dan, you always seem to have such a zen way about you, very calm at the table, very calm coming up into this final table. What's the experience been like for you?
It's been great. You know, it's nothing that I've ever experienced before. It's one of the best moments of my life. And, you know, I just hopefully I can come back again next year and make another deep run.
You've had a great group of supporters here as well, haven't you?
Yeah, they've been great. They've been tremendous. We're going to probably go have a good time tonight and just celebrate this little nice win.
Thank you so much. Out in 7th place, Dan Sindelar.
I just need it.
Dan now has over 1.2 million in main event earnings to celebrate tonight and find himself a nice golf course to play this week.
Well, he's a newly minted millionaire, as are the rest of these players, and he can find a lot of good golf courses for $1 million plus.
He might need that $1 million plus to play a lot of those golf courses. Depends how much he does want to play. But Dan was a fine representative of the poker community here at this main event final table. So now, 6-handed. Billy Pappas moves up on the pay scale now. A minimum payout, $1.6 million.
And that is significant money, especially to Billy Pappas. You know, here's a guy who earlier this summer, he wanted to play the $1,500 monster stack and just wanted a 50% backer. He couldn't find one. And then a few weeks later, one of the people who turned him down actually called him up just before the main event, said, I'll get you some backing for the main event. He didn't. He canceled his trip to Austria for a foosball tournament, plays in the main event for the first time, and is now a millionaire.
And how about Jacobson? He's got more than a shove move, a raise, and take it with the ace-jack. So don't count this guy out. I mean, he has been flying very low on the radar, but quietly building somewhat of a stack, though every time the blinds go up, the stack seems to shrink. And see Von Hofen talking now with 67% of the chips in play. Talking with almost 60 million. Von Hof with over 75 million. So a couple of quick knockouts. See Politano go out on hand number 100, and then shortly thereafter we see Sindelar hit the rail. Talking now with ace-jack and a raise to $1,350,000.
Jacobson, the first Swede at the main event final table in 8 years. Actually, 3 straight years the Swedes got to this final table. Matthias Andersson in 2004. Daniel Bergsdorf in 2005, Eric Freiberg in 2006, and now Martin Jacobson 8 years later.
And he takes over the all-time Swedish tournament earnings from Chris Bjorn,
who made the main event final table in 1997.
Von Hof calls for 750 more with 9-8 in the big blind, so he and Tonking will see a flop. Two top stacks, and there is an ace for Tonking. The rest of the table will sit and watch these Goliath stacks work their magic on each other now. With top pair, 1.5 million. And Von Hof folds immediately his 9-8 as he didn't connect with that board at all. And so Tonking taking a little off of the chip leader here. And it seems like it can be very demoralizing for the other stacks, Antonio, when you know that the chip leader is going to bully people around here and there, but then to knock a player off and pick up several million in the process and just suddenly, you know, move off like light speed away from the rest of the table, it's got to be, you know, quite depressing for the shorter stacks.
Yeah, I mean, it almost feels like Von Hof is just on a mission, and no one can get in his way. You know, ace-3 of hearts just takes out a couple jacks like no problem. You know, he's also playing excellent. He's playing with no fear. The cards are coming his way. You know, when a player has momentum like that and he's playing good, he's really tough to beat. And, you know, the shorter stacks, it almost appears like they just want to move up another pay scale. You know, the pay jump is so big.
Their options are so limited, you know, and that's the next best thing, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Larabe calls with a pocket pair for 750 more from the big blind after the tonking raise. Neither connects. Ace high still best. Larabe out of position to act first here. Spaniard with the best hand with a pocket pair. Checks it. Tonking took the lead pre-flop by raising it under the gun. And he checks back. That also misses tonking, and so Larabe's deuces standing tall. And what do you do with deuces? At some point you have to put some money in the pot.
Yeah, you know, you have a pair. Your opponent showed weakness on the flop. It's unlikely that Tonking has an 8 or a 7 in his hand. So really, the only thing you're worried about is a jack. If he had an overpair to the flop, he probably would have bet the flop. So now, by checking, if Tonking bets, he's really only representing a jack. You know, 95% of the time. So Larabe loves check here. He just wants to go down to the river and hopefully win with a pair of deuces, which is probably what's going to happen. There's no version of him betting this river here because he thinks there's a chance he could have the best hand. You know, Tonking didn't bet the flop or the turn, so he'll probably just check back an ace.
Tonking with 3 times the stack of Larabe, but Larabe will get a little richer there with the deuces holding up, dancing their way through the raindrops of that board.
That hand was checked, flop, turn, and river. I did not enjoy viewing that hand. I never want to see that hand again.
I mean, that's why you have to continuation bet. If you just bet a third of the pot and just win it, you know, X amount of times, it's just such a profitable play in the long run.
Keep an eye on these factors as we are now 6-handed. 6 maxes, they might say, if you're starting the tournament this way. Some players really love to play 6-handed and know how to play this better than 9-handed. Big pay jump, Joe Cata in 09. The last player to start 6-handed play is the short stack and win. And so maybe Billy Pappas is the short stack 6-handed can channel our Michigan champ. Who knows?
Well, Billy's opportunities are growing short. He is now down under 10 big blinds.
But he still has a chip and a chair. It's never over until it's over.
That chip in the chair thing, I think it was a fairy tale. I've heard about it a million times. Jack Strauss had the chip in the chair. I want to see the chip in the chair. Show it to me on television.
That's up 9-5 against 9-8. Tonking and Von Hof. And there is a 9. There's a 5 and an 8 in the flop. It's Tonking with the best of it. They both check. You might see that hand again, Norman.
Back to back, check, check, check. I'll never want to see it again in the rest of my life. No, we're going to get a bet this time.
So given that Von Hof checked back the flop, Tonking's pair of 8s is probably good. But Tonking has to be a little afraid of Von Hof given the way he plays, so he has to be concerned betting here. He doesn't want to get raised. He thinks his hand is the best hand. He probably knows it's the best hand, but he does not want to get raised.
Half the pot from Tonking. Von Hof with a piece of that board.
Gotta love Von Hof's posture, his body language, the way he looks at his opponent. Like, do you know who you're dealing with here? Do you know who you are dealing with?
Don't forget about his hair.
Oh, the hair.
Immaculate.
I mean, it's unbelievable. Could be the best hair I've ever seen.
Wow.
Not just in poker?
Just in general.
And there is Von Hof with the string call.
He's got bottom pair, but there's also a lot of good bluff cards on the river for him.
That might be one.
Yeah, Tonking does not love this card. I can't imagine he's going to bet this. He definitely doesn't want to bet and open the door to get raised and not be able to call.
So both got a piece of the flop. Talking now checks as another undercard comes out, but certainly puts 4 cards to a straight.
Checks.
And they go check, check, and the pair of 8s will win the pot. As the 2 big stacks don't get too out of line, the Talking will take it and start inching back towards that chip lead that he and Von Hof have traded throughout this final table. Will Talking, family man, and he talks about having his family here and happy that they are. Next payout right now for 6th place, $1.6 million. And then you look at a jump of over $500,000. And then between second and first is $4.8 million, a cool $10 million as advertised for our new champion. Pappas the short stack. Larabe has the button. Von Hof raises, it's folded to him. 10-8 of spades. Larabe not going to let Von Hof get away with it right now. He makes the call with ace-jack. Larabe positioned right in between the 2 big stacks here, and Talking a call with pocket 4 is the best of it here.
Let's see an action flop. Love to see something that connects, hits them all.
All right, first call for an action flop tonight.
Well, how about that?
Not much
that
action.
Might kill the action there with trip aces for Larabe. Now a 4 would maybe create some action.
We didn't get the 4.
I don't think we'll see the 4. If it's coming, I don't think we'll see it.
This flop is so bleak for action. If you put Von Hof and Talking's hand together and have them play Omaha with that flop, they still don't have a hand.
It goes check, check, check. Look at that. Chance for the 4. No, 9 of diamonds.
It's a very, very tricky check from Larabe on the button here.
So you see Von Hof drawing dead, couple of diamonds out there. Talking checks his pocket pair that goes with the aces on board. You're it now, our chip leader. Has to be careful not to bite off too much.
You know, Von Hof is very strong. I mean, he really just, he's so good at sniffing it out. I mean, even Larabe checking back on the flop here, on the button, he still doesn't bite and fire here. I really love the way he's been playing tonight. You know, there's no way that Larabe can check back here. I mean, he can, but it would just be a little too silly. He's got 3 aces. The second diamond is peeled off. He doesn't want to give off another free card. You know, a 10 or a king is not the best card. A diamond is a bad card. He has to bet.
Bet he does before the count comes out. Talking gets rid of it, as does Von Hof. And so beautiful flop for Larabe, though he doesn't get any action on it. And he will stack the chips, almost $7.4 million in that pot. Larabe firming up his spot in 3rd place, just ahead of Stevenson right now. As we are down to 6-handed. Tomorrow we'll be down to 1-handed. We crown a main event champion beginning at 9 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Tuesday night. $10 million in the main event bracelet. And one of these men will become, maybe reluctantly, the new poker ambassador. Just about 46 minutes and change left in this level.
Well, this poker ambassador thing, I always believe, is overrated, Lon, to be honest with you. I mean, I understand poker's a different animal than the other games, but you don't hear about, you know, golf ambassador, tennis ambassadors. Is the guy who wins Wimbledon a good ambassador for the game? They're playing poker. It's nice that the guy who wins it all, you know, acts like a champion and promotes the game, but I think that's overrated. They're here to play poker. And here we go with Mr. Jacobson, all in again.
With just queen tray of diamonds, and it looks like Billy wants to play as well.
This is the weakest offering we've seen Martin go all in with.
He calls. It looks like he's got a pocket pair. Is it King Jack? He does. King Jack of spades against queen tray of diamonds. As the two short stacks battle here, it's Jacobson with the bigger stack, so Pappas the one at risk. This would be a nice bump for Jacobson if his queen tray can come through. He's got 2 live cards. But Billy Pappas in the lead right now with all his chips at risk. Interesting play by Jacobson there. Here is the flop. And there is a queen for Jacobson.
But Billy Pappas does pick up both a straight draw and a flush draw.
And he's a favorite. And a king is good. And a 10 is good. Hard to believe Jacobson flopped the pair and Pappas is still the favorite.
A lot of outs for Billy Pappas. You see them listed up top. The spades, the 10, the king. Not the 8 of diamonds. And so now Jacobson is favored. 1 card to come. Billy Pappas looking to double up and survive. If he doesn't, he's gone.
Jacobson picks up the diamond draw, and that steals a couple of outs from Billy Pappas. Jacobson, the most accomplished player left here against the amateur. The amateur needs help to stay alive.
The river card is a king. Billy Pappas will double up. He waited until the last second to do it. Going through the second short stack, Martin Jacobson, who's now knocked down to 9 million.
Billy frankly says, I didn't get unlucky the entire tournament, and right here he gets lucky again and brings out the big smile.
Back to the grind for Martin Jacobson, 9.1 million. And I imagine the only reason that shove came is because he had Pappas to deal with only. And when that river card came down, Billy was very happy to see that. He will stick around, but still plenty of work to do with just 13 million chips.
Yeah, the diamond draw came on the third. Too many outs is not good anyway. That's three.
So Jacobson now 9.1 million, the short stack, and not unknown to him being down there in that short stack territory. Mark Newhouse, the first one knocked off of this final table for the second straight year. Politano eliminated in 8th place, Sindelar at 7th. Two big stacks, Von Hof and Tonking, battling back and forth for the chip lead.
Perfect, yeah.
Billy's dream still alive to become a 2-sport world champion, if you consider foosball and poker sports, but they're games.
To 1.3.
All right, so we continue 6-handed. Our short stack Stevenson. I'm sorry, Jacobson does give it up. Back to folding for Billy Pappas. And Von Hof will raise and take it with his king deuce of hearts. And we mentioned earlier about foosball money, and not a lot of money in foosball, but Billy Pappas has learned very early on in his poker career there's a lot of money in poker.
10 million is like a number that's out of this world. Like, I never even thought I would have like $100,000 in my pocket ever at any point. I've just never been close to that kind of money. So even $1 million, you know, that's a fake number to me. So 10 million is just an insane number, and you know, to be the champion obviously would be amazing, but the money is still how could you not think about that at an extreme level?
Norman, do you know how many tornado tables $10 million would buy? I don't either, but Billy plays a tornado foosball table. That's one he specializes on and has been champion on apparently uncounted times, because he has no idea how many world championships he has.
That's a lot of titles then. He never imagined he'd have 100,000 in his pocket. The guy sitting next to me right now, Antonio, has 100,000 in his pocket at this moment, I guarantee you.
He's tipping the drink runner 10,000 a trip, and it's already been, what, 12 trips?
I love when you guys butter me up. It feels great, you know? It does. Please don't stop.
6, 7, 10 on the flop. Was talking with the opening raise to 1.3 million. He got a call from Von Hof in the big blind.
So last time, this exact kind of situation, he basically gave up the pot with the ace-jack. Curious to see what he does this time. He probably might check it back again. He doesn't really want to get involved with Von Hof.
Really?
That's 1.5.
Well, there goes that idea.
Everybody plays the game differently.
No, I love it. He's got to bet here. I mean, he just has to bet here. So, you know, lesson learned from last time, and great job.
And a good fold from Von Hof. 2 overcards to the board. But he was beat talking with that ace in hand, and Von Hof gets away from it. He's not going to give talking too much of an opportunity to retake the chip lead, but they are within about 4.5 million chips of each other. Talking currently in second place. So we've seen Ryan Reese with the shuffle up and deal. We've had an interview with Kara Scott with him, and Reese was the leader 6-handed play last year, and he went on to become the champion, defeating Jay Farber heads up. And right now it is a toss-up. That man right now, Jorrit Von Hof, chip leader, Will Tonking right on his heels. Pappas with kings and a raise to 1.4 million, and very out of character for him just to raise without shoving. So does this indicate a big hand?
Well, now he has a little bit more chips. You know, back when he was in the 6-7 million range, he was just shoving. So, you know, shoving here, you might take someone's 3-bet away from them. So, you know, this is pretty standard. I like it.
20 big blinds for Pappas. Rabe with the hand, king, queen of hearts.
It's a pretty good hand to be up against when you have 2 kings. Wow, this is
look at this, and a call, and Billy Pappas with a chance to double up once again, as he has Larabe dominated the pocket kings against king queen of hearts.
I don't like that play at all. You have a hand that has so much value. You could take a flop and go from there.
And it's half of Larabe's stack.
Yeah, I mean, you're third in chips. There's so much money for the pay jumps. I just don't see the value in making this play. If your opponent calls, you're in trouble. Now, yeah, sure, he might have 10s or jacks, and you could be taking a flip, but why? Well, why not just call? You have such a beautiful hand. You could connect, see what happens.
Billy Pappas trying to turn back-to-back all-ins from the short stack to the third biggest stack if he can double up here.
Larabe with a misstep, got a little out of line with that shove. Here now is the flop, and it is all aces.
Well, Larabe now looking for the royal flush if he can get it.
So Billy is pretty much free rolling here.
I can't say that.
Well, Billy would give up half the pot if an ace comes out. That would be a bad beat for Billy.
Ooh, or a king, by the way. A king also chops the pot.
Yeah. And no chop, and Billy Pappas will double up again in short order after his previous double up. And so Billy into third place with 26 million chips. Larabe down to 12.8. Not happy. Wow. That could be worth $1 million or more to Billy Pappas.
Let's go! We got you! Yeah, brother!
Pappas got a gift from Larabe there with the call. With the shove, and then Billy called him. And Billy Pappas suddenly, you look at him, now he's on that far left of that chip count at the top of your screen with 26 million. And that is not a happy Spaniard.
Norman, can you translate for us, please?
He said that he made a mistake and that he had no idea that he would make the mistake at that point, and if he had the chance to do it again, he would not make the same mistake.
He might be right.
He's close.
It's very close.
Robbie said 4 words.
I know what I'm talking about.
It's deeper than that, Juan. It's deeper than that.
But how about Billy Pappas? I mean,
it's exciting.
This is a guy, it's the greatest thing in the world that he's here. He said every day of the main event today could be the biggest day of my life, and now he's again put himself in position that this indeed again could be the biggest day of his life.
Billy's going to fold and enjoy the glow of the moment a little longer. Jacobson, the short stack, with 8.9 million. Larabe with 12.8. He's still stinging. Van Hoof will test everybody again with the raise. Tonking said, I was going to do that. So I will. So the 2 top stacks.
Calling in the big blind with Jack 7. You're getting a good price, but this is out of the realm that I would expect from Tonking here with Jack 7 offsuit.
Van Hoof flops
you know,
2 pair.
Getting the price that he's getting, he has to call. I mean, I think it's a pretty standard call.
Check to Yorit. Yorit with the 9s and 5s.
That's 1.1.
Million one. If you're talking, if you're going, I don't think he has a 5. Maybe he has a 5.
Well, it's not so much what Van Hoof has, it's just that Tonking doesn't have anything. So does he really want to tango with someone that has a massive, you know, chip stack, who's relentless and plays very aggressive out of position? No, he doesn't. He's just going to be done with the hand.
All right, so here's something, you know, you don't see often. The longest names in main event final table history, and William Papa Constantino will take it with 17 letters. And Spadabecki, of course, was holding the record until this year. And Mikhail Brimmelhaus, with the last name, only 11 letters. But our first time here, setting a lot of records at the main event final table. The least of which is his name, which, you know, would extend our broadcast probably, you know, a half an hour if we had to say Papa Constantino every time.
Oh, 45 minutes at least, correcting how you say it.
Yeah, true. Good point. Van Hoof at it again with King Deuce of clubs, and Jacobson all in with a short stack of 8.8 million with ace 8. Back to Van Hoof. A little different situation here than he had with Sindelar.
He can't call this. He's not getting the right price to call this.
Well, it's for 10% of his stack.
It's just. I mean, if it was King, you know, it's a little bit better than King Deuce. I think there's some justification for it. But here, he has to call a decent amount. There's just no way.
Yeah, he folds, and he doesn't want to give Martin chips either.
No,
if at all possible. But you got to wonder, you know, 10%, is it worth it? And it depends where the chips are going, I guess, at some point. And Jacobson will pick up a few, back to double figures, 10.9 million for the Swede. And what a struggle he has had at this final table for Van Hoof. It has been the penthouse pretty much most of the time. Long way to go for Martin Jacobson to realize his championship dreams. chip leader on so many of the days, and now at the other end of that spectrum. However, he is one of the only six players left in the main event, so he's got that going for him, and a minimum payout of $1.6 million. Voltage Tonking on the button.
Raise it to 1.2.
Tonking. 8-7. Jacobson in the small blind. Is it a button raise?
I mean, Jacobson has the perfect stack to shove all in over the top here. You know, Tonking's range is wide open, so given the fact that he has 8-7, just happens to work out. But you know, there's so many hands that he's opening with.
There is the shove from
and Jacobson knows
Jacobson
this.
with an ace, the weakest of aces, albeit an ace.
That was hand 118. Jacobson has shoved on 103 of them.
And it has helped each and every time. And so we've got about 30 minutes, a little more than 30 minutes left in this level, and that's one of the things that Jacobson was looking at as well, knowing that the blinds will be going up and his urgency to shove will be a little more urgent indeed when the blinds go up. But for right now, 13 million makes him the second short stack. Larabe now down as the shortest stack with 12.2 million. And so Larabe has to be thinking about shoving as well, and that's something that he has not really been in position to have to do. But how rapidly things change. Billy Pappas doubling through Larabe into third place.
To 1.35.
Talking with another raise.
Stevenson, we haven't seen much from him lately.
No, he folds his big blind, and Tonking will take that. Tonking over 62 million chips, and hope you're enjoying our coverage of this World Series of Poker main event final table. And a lot of poker friends watching out there, including Norm McDonald. Good news for Pappas as he moves one up, but better news for Van Hoof and Tonking, who look like they are moving closer to heads up, and what a battle that would be. But to have Billy Pappas in the mix, Norm McDonald is right. It's a good thing.
I thought Norm McDonald only knew like high stakes cash poker. I didn't realize he understood tournament poker. Seems like a high stakes poker guy to me.
Yeah, he's done a little bit of that. Norm loves to come out and play some of the World Series events. Always good to see him in the field.
Calls.
Felix Stevenson, the first Norwegian at the main event final table since Tormod Auroren in 1997. That's the same year that Chris Bjorn made the final table, so a Norwegian and a Swede at the final table then, a Norwegian and a Swede at the final table again 17 years later.
And they pretty much have avoided each other too, the Norwegians and Swedes tonight.
Well, they share a really long border with each other.
They go way back, don't they?
You know, if we had a border that long with Sweden, we'd build a border fence to keep the Swedes out. That's a long border Norway and Sweden have together.
Stevenson flops a wheel draw. He checks. Van Hoof with king tray checks back. 10 of diamonds.
Actually, if you know your history, Lon, Norway was in union with Denmark for 436 years. That's 429 years longer than my longest marriage. Who didn't know that?
Who didn't see that coming? Yeah, they have had quite a history of warring over there, Denmark and, Sweden and Denmark.
Meanwhile, we have a check, 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 check.
And Norway, I'm sorry. Denmark comes in there.
Neither player wants to stab at this spot.
Another check from Stevenson. Van Hoof has been pretty much right on with his reads and his actions with the chips, and he sees Stevenson's ace-4 and will kick in his king tray, and Stevenson will take that. And so Felix with some work to do. He really has a hard time getting off of that smaller 20 million-ish chip stack, and right now 20.5 million for the Norwegian living in London, and very much sports oriented. Was a very good athlete early on, but poker took over his life.
Yeah, actually he played on the best youth soccer team in Norway from the ages of 14 to 18. Then he said he hit a wall and lost his motivation. Of course he lost his motivation. No one ever scores. So he said, I got to stop playing soccer and start playing poker.
He was a telemarketer, as you said, as you saw, for 3 days, he says, which was about 4 days too long. Billy Pappas gets out of the way. A newly minted Billy Pappas. With almost 25 million. So Stevenson wants to get back to work. And the Norwegian pro with a raise to 1.3 million with 8-7. And as you mentioned earlier, Antonio, six-handed, the play changes drastically. And,
Absolutely.
And the hand ranges really open up.
And, you know, these guys probably have a lot of experience playing six-handed. I mean, there's a lot of six-handed tournaments held around the world, actually, these days. There's
It's
a lot
a
of
favorite of players, yeah.
Yeah, it's more action. You can play a lot more hands. It's a lot more fun, that's for sure. I wish I could be at a six-handed table with 5 Norman Chads. That would be a dream come true. Me and 5 Norman Chads.
And never have Von Hof on your left.
That is correct.
9 tray of spades. He re-raises 3 bets to 3.1 million. And Stevenson has been in this position before.
Somebody has to take a stand at some point, but it's pretty hard to do it with 8-7. So, you know, Von Hof is so good at just knowing when people are weak and when people are strong. He's been on point almost every single pot.
Yeah, we can almost count on maybe one finger the mistakes he might have made this whole main event final table.
He's a beast.
It's been tremendous.
A beast.
And he's got the stare down too, you know. And when you got, you know, the guts, and you got the chips, and you got the stare, and you got the hair. You got the whole
Don't forget the hair. But he is intimidating, you know, and we touched on this before, but I actually do believe that every player there is a little intimidated by him.
Makes more sense. Yeah.
Jacobson kicks it in. And even Jacobson here seems a little more at ease for some reason. You know, and he's at least engaging with the other players a little bit. He's in a comfort zone, six-handed, even though he's got to fold a lot of hands. And he knows he's going to find a spot. He seems content knowing that his options are limited, and he's okay with that.
He's just playing what's available to him. You know, he's a very strategical thinker. This is my table. These are my opponents. This is the chips they have. This is the chips I have. This is what I got to do.
Look who's raising,
you know,
pre-flop with King 9.
My man.
Larabe with a chance to get some chips back, maybe from Billy Pappas. That would seem to be your first instinct. You have to be very disciplined to forget what happened in such short order. It's like you want to go back through the guy who went through you, if at all possible. Maybe not the wisest thing to do in poker. Not the coolest of heads would do that. And, of course, Larabe's a better player than that, so he does fold. Will Tonking now, second biggest stack, 8 million chips behind Von Hof.
Yeah, well, he just defended with Jack-7 offsuit to a button raise, so he's now against Pappas, which he'd probably rather play against because, you know, like I said, Von Hof was putting a little bit of fear in everybody, so.
Yeah, Tonking would certainly, they all want to play against the amateur Billy Pappas. Pappas still with the best of it with king high. Tonking checks. He sees only one club in that flop for him.
Well, the Billy Pappas of the early main event would simply continue here. He actually played quite aggressively the first few days. Then had one day, I believe day 5 or 6, where he stopped the aggression and didn't play well. But here again, just continuing and should be able to pick up the pot.
There you go, Pappas.
And that's the guy, Pappas, I think, that once things start rolling a little bit, he can start, as you mentioned, play like he did earlier. He knows what works in certain situations. This, of course, is a unique situation for him, but don't the mechanics apply whether it's a final table or not?
Absolutely, but I think that he has the money on his mind. You know, probably more than he should.
Oh yeah, how would it not?
You know,
be? Yeah.
you know, when you're talking about how much money that is and what it does for his life, you know, players can use that to his advantage.
See the number of hands that have taken to complete recent final tables, 261 last year. I still have nightmares about 2012.
In my mind, 2012 is still going on.
Yeah, right? Three-handed.
You might have nightmares about this year, too. This could be a while.
This is hand number 123, and we are six-handed still. Took a while to get us down to eight-handed. A raise once again, Von Hof, and there you go. He's got a hand this time. Ace-Jack suited makes it 1.4 million. And you can just tell Larabe is so frustrated having so few options. He just doesn't have the chips to play poker, as it were, you know. Jacobson with a very similar stack to Larabe.
Oh, we've seen him shove here with ace-8 and ace-deuce. He knows that Von Hof is opening with such a wide range of hands. Well, if he does it here, he's in big trouble.
For the moment, stays out of big trouble.
And he just calls for 800,000 more. So one of the short stacks against the big stack of Von Hof. King, 6, Jack.
So it worked out well for him that he didn't flop an ace, because then it would be pretty hard to get away from. So
another spade out there, and so 3 spades on board. Jacobson holds the only spade, but he can't be comfortable with that tray. That's the only card that is going to help him out. Goes check, check. 8 of hearts. So the jack for Von Hof is going to hold up. Checked over to Yoret.
You know, there's a chance he might go for some value here. I mean, his opponent checked 3 times. If he had a king, he probably would have heard about it. I might try and get a little value here. You know, Jacobson's not really going to check raise here without a hand. So if he gets check raise, he probably is behind. And, you know, maybe there's a chance he gets paid off given that he checked twice on the flop and the turn. So I'd probably go for some value. But it's close.
Yeah, he checks it back. And so showdown will have a pair of jacks for Jort Von Hof, and he will take that pot from Jacobson. And Von Hof is winning every which way at this championship table. Extends his chip lead on Will Tonking. Now with 72 million chips, would become the first champion from the Netherlands to win the main event. And he's a guy with a good head on his shoulders. He's got a lot of things going, and he's looking ahead for himself in the future, and very mature at the table, Norman.
He's done a lot of work on the mental game of poker. That's when he hooked up with Jared Tendler, the author of The Mental Game of Poker. He's had some sessions with him. So he concentrates a lot on the mental game. I've told him that he should concentrate more on the physical game, but that's pretty much out of vogue in poker, and I don't have the results he has.
Well, no, with a pocket pair and another raise, and he's just going to keep raising. You know, he's got cards to raise. He's got cards to raise.
First of all, he's getting cards to raise, but he should be raising anyway. Nobody wants to play a pot with him, and he's winning everything.
He doesn't have a chance to try to get out of line because he keeps getting hands.
He keeps getting it. It's so much easier when you make hands.
And then he'll be blamed for running so good and running over the table, and you know.
Of course.
Talking 3 bets with ace king.
So, you know, I think Von Hof is always calling here. There's really no reason to 4-bet against a stack that's the second biggest stack on the table out of position. If you get called or re-raised, you know, it's a bad spot to be in. So you just want to call the other 1.7 million and hope that you flop a 5 and maybe you can win a big pot. Against a shorter stack, I think it's a different play, but here I think it's just a call for sure.
Oh, he's breathing a little heavier as though something more is coming. I don't know why I feel that from him. I would certainly trust your instincts, but
Well,
he looks like he's gearing up for a big move.
Wow.
Oh.
I'm surprised he doesn't call there.
Show the 7 balls. 7 balls. Not that cool.
All right, Tonking will take it with a smile.
7-3.
I have to get another book. I have to learn poker again, because I would, with the stacks as big as they are, I would always call. You know, once in a while I flop a set, and when I do, I can win a massive pot. Also, Tonking doesn't really want to get out of line against me, so you know, there's a chance he's got overcards, and maybe he doesn't barrel again. You know, I think that was a call for sure.
Well, playing it safe in that regard was Jort Vanhoef, and he retains the chip lead here at this table. Jacobson now, as everyone is folded to him on the button.
Raises to 1.2.
And there's a raise. Queen 8 off. Pappas is in an interesting position. I mean, he has nowhere to go really but up the leaderboard if he wants to hang out. And you know, 2 more pops at the leaderboard, he's at 2.8 million. But
oh yeah, with 2 players down around 15, 16 big blinds, then that's going to be running through his mind. That's a lot of money to be won.
Stevenson calls with 8-7 and will be dominated by the Queen 8. And there is a 7. Stevenson flops bottom pair to take the lead.
That's your change.
Wow, Jacobson is really on the ropes here. I mean, he's short stacked. There's 3.1 million chips in the pot. You know, he doesn't want to just give it up. He has to take a stab at it, but it's such a significant part of his stack to do so.
Looks like at least $1 million.
It's 1.4.
$1.4 million.
He really wants to fold here. And, you know, Stevenson flopped a pair, but it's bottom pair. He's out of position. It's not the best spot to be in, but look, it's hard to flop a pair against a wide range of hands from Jacobson on the button. You almost want to take one off and just see what your opponent does on the turn.
You still know poker, don't worry. Don't sell yourself
short. It's a lot easier when the cards are face up.
Jacobson looking to hit something, and another ace comes out.
That's actually a pretty good card for Stevenson. The chances of Jacobson having an ace go down, right? It wouldn't really make any sense for Jacobson to bet a jack here on the turn, right? So the only hand he's representing if he bets again is an ace.
Check back. King of diamonds on the river. So Stevenson with that's a bottom pair is best.
Yeah, it's a bad card for Stevenson. I mean, if he checks and Jacobson moves his chips, it's going to be a pretty tough call. There's really no value in betting here on the river if you're Stevenson. So I think it'll be check, and he'll just pray to God that Jacobson checks behind and his hand is good.
Check.
If Jacobson fires here, it's going to be a tough spot for Stevenson.
Would he have to release all barrels here, or
I mean,
just a normal?
You know, it's just really tough to call.
Check.
Yeah, check back.
With bottom pair there.
Yeah, Jacobson knows he's beat, though. I think it looks like. Yeah, and so he will have to give up those chips, and that is a hard lesson to take right there. Felix will take that pot, and so Stevenson still in this race as we are 6-handed for the $10 million top prize. We talked to a lot of the players, and they had a wide range of reactions to the $10 million. Some were afraid to talk about it, to touch it. Others just couldn't fathom it. Here's Felix's take.
10 million is it's a crazy amount of money, but I mean, nobody at this final table is going to suffer in any way. 730K is also a ton of money, so I think we're all going to be fine either way. But I mean, 10 million would be pretty sweet.
Will Tonking has an economics degree. I wish he could explain to Felix Stevenson the difference between 730K and 10 million.
730K, it was what 9th place payout was, and that's what Mark Newhouse had to be satisfied with again this year. Very similar payout to what ninth place was last year. And they just might change the name of ninth place to Newhouse.
Wow.
Sorry, Mark. All right, so Von Hof with the raise and take it right there. And Felix Stevenson not only looking at chip stacks, he's probably got a good look at the tournament clock out there. And I believe we have under 10 minutes to go in this level. So he is gauging, you know, how much time he's got left at this table and how many times more he can fold as he sits with just 8.1 million chips and the blind's about to go up.
It feels shovey. Nope. He had the look.
That was close.
He had the look. He's definitely got a shove stack now with 8.1 million.
Stevenson now on the button. No action in front of him.
He's been hammered so many times in these spots by Von Hof.
No, insta-fold by Yorit, who had nothing, ace-5 of clubs. And Larabe gives up his big blind. So Stevenson will take it with that raise. Larabe with 9-5, and he's another one who is in definite shove territory. Larabe with just 10 million chips. As Stevenson starts to move away from those two short stacks, he's up to 23 million, and right on the heels of Billy Pappas, who has 25.5 million.
You know, Larabe and Jacobson are also thinking about the $500,000 pay jump here. If they can outlast, you know, the other guy, it's $500,000. It's a ton of money.
This table is divided in thirds right now. The two big stacks, Von Hof and Tonking. The two middle stacks, Pappas and Stevenson. The two short stacks, Larabe and Jacobson.
And the pay jumps with those short stacks, as you mentioned, have to come into play. Obviously, they're trying to win a championship. They're trying to play their best poker. But at some time, the game becomes, I got to pay the bills.
The dough is the dough.
Talking with a raise and take it.
What do you think about Billy Pappas?
Pappas has a nice crowd there. Tournament director Jack Ethel getting them out of their seats, goosing them a little bit. Talking just can't stand any recognition, can he? He almost shrinks away when you mention his name.
He's the anti-Phil Hellmuth.
A roll of the eyes and a fold from Talking. Jacobson folds as well. And so Jacobson actually will win it. It was folded to him. Apologize. And so with the big blind and the walk, Martin Jacobson. And he is looking for some way to claw his way back into it. He knows if he can get up into Pappas territory, 20 million, 25 million somewhere soon, that he can make a difference. But right now, there's so little he can do with that chip stack. There's so few maneuvers he can perform. Larabe in the same boat.
Raises to 1.2.
Larabe is going to raise it. 10-8 of diamonds. Talking gives up his button. Small blind Jacobson. Now it's up to Billy Pappas. And Billy's not going to play. Larabe will take it.
Larabe, the first player from Spain at the final table since Carlos Mortensen won it all in 2001. But Larabe could become the first Spanish-born player to win the main event. Mortensen was actually born in Ecuador. And Andoni, 22 years old, trying to take this back to Spanish Basque Country.
Two small cashes, both in Barcelona since making the final table. Said he's been working on some live tell stuff. Spain, his home country, very excited, as is his family. He has made this final table, trying to recover from doubling up Billy Pappas a short while ago. Jacobson in on the button. Pappas in the small blind, Stevenson in the big, talking with a raise with ace tray of diamonds. Billy Pappas now in the small blind.
Hey, he looks pretty interested here.
He's got the chips in the folding, or his cards
He's got
in
the
the
cards
folding.
in the folding, but,
yeah,
but he looks interested.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, those are 3-betting chips, boys.
2.9.
We raised 2.9 million.
Well, there you go. Fold for a couple rounds and wake up with the 7 deuce suited.
25, a little under 25.
Okay. You know, sometimes you have to 3-bet and you have to take the aggression, especially when you have a good tight image. But doing this out of position with 7 deuce, you know, you could probably pick a better spot. Tonking doesn't really like to call with marginal hands for a bit, you know, a 3-bet, so I get it, but I don't like it. Just, you're going to get yourself in trouble sometimes, especially given the chip leader has position on you and can call with so many cards just to see what happens on the flop. I mean, you're asking for a world of trouble.
So Pappas is wondering, well, okay, what now? He hit a 7 and 2 spades.
Hello.
An ace for Tonking, but wow.
I mean, he's happy to get it in here. You know, Stu Unger loved to get it in with any pair in a flush draw and hold them. You just.
But if he gets it in here, he's behind.
Yeah, but he's got so many
trouble.
outs. It's really just a coin flip.
Yeah, it is. You see the percentages there.
So Tonking will call here.
3.6 million.
Well, Tonking with that weak ace.
There's no value in raising here. You want to just call in position, see what happens on the turn. You don't want to get raised. You don't want to raise and then have your opponent shove, and then you don't know what to do with ace-3. So for sure, this is just a call. And then, you know, will Pappas get there on the turn? And if he doesn't, is he going to fire again? That's the real question.
It was just an eye-opener to see how Billy has played this hand so far. King of spades, and Billy Pappas with 7 deuce has come up with a flush.
Nutter butters, sir?
That's, well, it's not the nutter butters, but in this spot,
In this case, it is.
It's good enough.
It's good enough.
That's a bad bet. I don't like all that.
Yeah, you think he could have gotten some value out of that?
I mean, I would have tried. You know, maybe make a really small weak bet or maybe even check. I definitely would not have gone all in.
It's his personality, right? I mean, he's not going to do that without something.
I mean, you know, it's 6-handed, the final table main event. I don't see him going all in with just a naked queen of spades.
Well, I think he was happy with the pot. I mean, look where he is now, 32 million chips.
Yeah, he probably could have gotten more chips out of that if he didn't go all in, but he was under 10 big blinds not so long ago, and now he is over 50 big blinds.
Billy Pappas, who we saw with that pre-flop bet, and then he turns over 7 deuces spades and then turns the flush and goes through the second chip leader. And Tonking took a hit there.
I don't know. They don't know whose it is.
I don't see how.
It might have been the pot. Who's 100K is it? I don't know if I pulled it in.
There was a stray chip
We'll fix it after.
on the table, and they're not sure who it belongs to.
You
And
want me to count it? Okay. We good?
did Billy end up with that? I think it's possible he just didn't pull it in on that last pot.
Raised to 1.35.
Tonking back to work with 7-5 of diamonds. And Billy's work is done for this hour.
Yeah, that's satisfying for Billy, but I actually would have been more satisfied if he missed on the turn and fired again and took down the pot.
Yeah, that would have been fun.
That would have been even more fun, but Billy Pappas having the time of his life now.
Picking up some hands. Pocket kings going through Larave and got the flush. Got some chips from talking. King, queen, 8. Van Hoof still ahead with the dominating ace over talking.
Dominating ace, but really in a bad spot, out of position against the pre-flop raiser. He's got ace high. It's really hard to continue here. I'd be shocked if Tonkin doesn't just take this down.
Look at that. It's the face cards in the flop, I imagine, that help Tonkin there, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, I mean, he's not really out of line too often.
Maybe a little on tilt after getting beat down by Billy Pappas. The break is coming up soon, and get you some great content from Kara, Daniel, and Phil. They'll take a look at some of the hands that were played in this last level and review the 2014 Poker Hall of Fame inductions. And Daniel Negreanu, one of the inductees at the ceremonies last night at Benny's Bullpen at Binion's Horseshoe. At Binion's Casino, where the World Series was born. Coming up in just a few minutes, so don't tune out during the break. Be interesting to see Daniel Negreanu and Phil Hellmuth's take on what has transpired in the last 2 hours at this main event final table. Poker's biggest night. Talking ace tray of hearts and the raise. Van Hoof, the chip leader. Under 70 million now, 69.3 million. Very steady. He's made a lot of correct folds, a lot of correct raises.
3.7.
And here comes another 3-bet.
And a big one at that.
And he's got a bigger ace than Tonkin. Larabe, the second short stack with 10.7 million folds.
This puts a wide range of Tonkin's openings in a really tough spot here. You know, it's a pretty big raise, but Tonkin does have position.
And
if he had a hand like Jack 10 suited or something like that, I think he's going to call and take a flop. But ace 3 of hearts can get you in a lot of trouble.
Van Hoof, quiet celebration every time he stacks chips. And every time he takes chips from Tonkin, he puts that much more distance between second place and himself.
Van Hoof, the oldest player remaining here at 31.
That's strange to say, isn't it? All right, Jacobson folds. Billy. Break coming up very shortly, so the players folding and seeing if they get a head start on the information flow. And there is You're at it again from the button. And nobody can play with Van Hoof as he raises and takes it again with Jack 4. And that is a chip leader who knows what he is doing. He will go to the break with almost 73 million chips and a big lead on Will Tonkin. We lost Dan Sindelar. His pocket jacks run down by Van Hoof and his ace tray of hearts. Coming up, Kara, Dan, and Phil. And we come back to continue six-handed play for a world championship.